MikeRelm, welcome to Serato Unscripted from a distance.
Yes, from a far, far away land. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, man. How are you maintaining right now?
Pretty good. I got my room set up where it just looks like I'm in a Virgin America cabin as much as possible. I don't know. It's a weird time, right? Like for people who are listening in the future, a year from now, hopefully less, 2 years, three. Uh, we're in quarantine time,
Yep.
and it's starting to feel normal, which is kind of weird and bad at the same time. I don't know.
Everyone's healthy around you?
Yeah, it's just me and my wife and our dogs, so we're good. Pretty easy to just. I mean, we both kind of work from home to begin with, so it wasn't a huge shift, except for now we can't really go out to eat or enjoy kind of the outside things. But we're kind of homebodies anyways.
It's good that you've got the people around you that you love and your animals. They seem to definitely provide a sense of peace, right?
Yeah, they love it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they obviously don't know what's going on, but it's like, oh, our humans are around us all day now. Like, this is a nice change. My wife and I were talking about it. It's going to be weird when things get back to normal, and they're going to be like, hold on, where I thought you were hanging. Where are you going? Where are you going for 2 weeks now? What the hell?
No doubt. What do you think the world is going to be like, actually, like after this so-called return to normal?
I'm hopeful that things will be cool. But the reality is, like, you're already seeing, certain cities are testing, opening things, and like, you see it, like, people can't even handle going to a mall now. Like, there was a huge fight in an Atlanta suburb, and I mean, especially, I mean, I'm an Asian American, like it's gonna suck to a certain degree, because of just some things that we've already been seeing. So in that way, I'm kind of relieved that this whole situation includes us kind of staying home, and so I don't have to go out and face that reality just yet. Hopefully things will kind of even out. I know, I don't think it'll be exactly the same.
Mm.
Traveling, people like us who travel for a living. I mean, who knows what the airlines and the airports are going to be like? Like, TSA is already a nightmare.
Mm.
You know, that's what I'm not looking forward to. And I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell. It's kind of like you think about it to a certain point, and then it's like, okay, now let's just kind of let it unfold. I kind of have to sort of maintain my mental health and stay the course, whatever your course may be, which again you may not know. So it's an endless loop of like stress,
Yeah.
I guess. But I mean, in general, the fact that, like, my career is just been this for 15, 20 years. Like, it's been in flux for so long. I'm used to it to a point. But this is pretty bad currently.
Yeah. But has it affected your work? I mean, have you found it? Have you found the ability to stay creative during this time?
Yeah, staying creative. It's been great for that because I have all the time in the world now. It obviously everyone's gigs have been completely wiped out for the foreseeable near future. That hurts. Even though I'm not even the kind of DJ who goes out and plays, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week to begin with. But still, I mean, it's just like, man, like, no gigs, really? Like, damn,
Yeah.
that hurts.
Yeah.
It
Majorly.
hurts because you miss that. You're connecting with people. You're around. That's a big. When I would go on a tour that would last like, a year or something, and then, you come home, and it's like, whoa, where is everybody? Like, you just get this like weird kind of like, I call it just like tour depression. You just kind of afterwards, you're just like, huh, there's no rush from the crowd. obviously there's no, the people that you're around become your family. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're just gone. Everyone's back home or doing another tour, and you're doing, even if you hop onto another tour after that, like it's such a dramatic shift in what you're doing that like you need to like kind of take a second to readjust and decompress and then kind of, shuffle your life around.
Yeah, when you're in such close quarters, it's only natural to feel that, and then
it's like getting fired from a job, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, you're done. You can't. There's no even. But it's even worse because even if you wanted to go back and visit those people that you liked, they're not there.
Yeah, totally.
That configuration of humans will never be there again. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause everyone's doing their different thing.
Speaking of home, you're based in LA now, right?
Yeah. Grew up in the Bay, living in LA now.
So, being born and raised in San Francisco, I'm curious to know why there are so many great DJs from the Bay Area.
It's a really good question. I think for me, I started DJing in like 93. So, I wasn't there from the very beginning, but like pretty close at this point. By the time I had started, it was, the scratch pickles were already a thing. Scratch hamsters were already a thing. But aside from the turntablists, there was a shit ton of just DJs in general, like, just club DJs, mobile DJs. Like, mobile DJing was a thing. Like, I'm not sure if it was like that in other towns or whatever. Apparently it wasn't, but so a mobile DJ group would be, maybe 10 to, some that had like 20 people in it. Only one was a DJ, but like the rest of them like carried the equipment and whatever, and they would set these massive, setups just for a school dance. And it was like there was like at least, where I in my high school there was like at least 3 like major groups that were like, they had the jackets and everything with their name on it. And like those guys were the seniors, the cool guys. And I was like a freshman, like, what is this? What is that jacket? That's not a football jacket. What is, it's all like leather sleeves and fancy, they were just the cool group. And I never got a jacket. I never joined one of those groups, but it was just, that was the culture. Like, if you weren't into cars or scratching, you were a mobile DJ. And that's kind of what it's weird. There weren't any bands.
Right.
Like my school, like the idea of a garage band was not, that was new to me. Like, I didn't know that existed. To me, it was like every block had their garage open, and just a bunch of DJs were just like kind of in the garage, like mixing, and like, we had like the helicopter lights and everything. It was kind of a cool time. And then there was like, we would make these like mixtapes. These mixtapes would circulate around, and it was usually the kid, my friends who had older brothers and sisters would get it, and I would just be like, well, how are they mixing 4 to 5 songs within 20 seconds or whatever? It was just like layers upon layers. I understood 2 turntables, going back and forth. Okay, I get that. But then you hear these mixes where it's like, okay, they've got an instrumental and a cappella, and then another instrumental comes in, and another a cappella comes on top of that, and then that breaks out, and the a cappella's by itself, and then they throw another thing in, and then they got sound effects, and where's all this coming from? And I realized they were doing like 4 turntable mixes, and that just blew my mind. And the other thing was a lot of them were using 4-track recorders, which to me, that opened, when I got my 4-track, that was just like, I could do anything now.
Yeah.
Like what? There's nothing I can't do. I could stack tracks. I could just like, I could do whatever I want. Like, really. And now 4 tracks is nothing. Like, what? How did we do that?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I don't know if you've heard Kid Koala's early mixtapes,
Hmm.
but yeah, he was one of the first guys that I remember hearing doing a very similar style that you describe, with
Yeah.
a lot of layers, using the 4-track, and it was
Hmm.
mind blowing. You know that
Yeah.
where were they getting all
Absolutely.
these sources from and all these different elements of media?
And if you don't know what the technology is, it's like, what, like, like, you know. Oh, and the other thing I guess we had in the Bay Area was on the radio stations there would be mix shows, so you could hear every night, especially on the weekends, you could hear these crazy, they call them quick mixes, and it's just like, what is that? They're scratching and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is what I need to be doing. Like, I'm not interested in anything else. This is it. You sit there and you record the mixes and play them back in your Walkman on the way to school or whatever. And yeah, so my entire high school was just like, that was the focus, was just DJing. And I didn't think I'd be doing it after that. It just, because back then it was still, are you gonna do weddings, or are you gonna do mobile gigs? For that was the lane, or be a radio DJ,
Yeah.
and that was it. Like, there weren't zero opportunities, zero festivals or raves or stuff like that. It just wasn't, especially for a hip hop DJ, it wasn't like in the cards,
So,
really.
but you got into battling, right? And
Hmm.
you won, what was the ITF?
Yeah, it was the ITF. It was the US 99 battle. Yeah, and that was after maybe I was, DJing for maybe I guess 6 years or so. Took a while.
But did you kind of pivot your focus? You decided you didn't want to be a radio DJ per se. You wanted to focus on battle DJing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, to me, I was kind of had a foot in both. So I wasn't sure. I was a kid. Like, what am I going to do? Then I think in the mid to late '90s was when, you saw like Mixmaster Mike started blowing up on a, outside of the Bay Area kind of way. They were already world champions, but now it's like, oh, he's the Beastie Boys DJ, and Q's doing all these crazy shows, and Shortcut's traveling everywhere, and they really kind of like opened up the landscape. Me and my friends were just a bunch of kids tagging along with them. Like, dang, Shortcut gets to go here. They're paying you money to go here, and they're paying for your flight. That's crazy. Like, so that just, I think what it was for me especially was just having that within reach, just having that whole thing demystified helped me, because I think if I wasn't around them, I wouldn't think that it was possible to be doing that at all. But again, there they were. They're right there. I mean, like, they lived 5 minutes from me. It was just normal to just watch them practice, and I completely took it for granted,
Yeah.
obviously. But to me, that was the lane. And to me, it was, you had to win a championship to get popular or whatever, and then start doing gigs. And I've come to find out that everyone's different. Everything's different. You don't just because you win a battle doesn't mean that there's some magical promoter club who's like, oh, well, welcome. We've been expecting you. Bring your championship belt with you. Like,
Totally.
it actually doesn't make any sense for a guy who won a scratching juggling battle to then get booked for clubs.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sorry, don't you think that the battle, like the discipline it takes to win a championship, kind of, did that affect you? Like just the rigorous practicing and all these sorts of things. Did that?
That's a great point, because battled up to like 99, 2000, and then I wanted to shift things because, again, it was very confusing being in kind of both worlds of like, okay, I'm this battle DJ, but then I want to do the clubs and stuff. They didn't meet, except for like certain parties that would make sense. And it's like, okay, well, there's, Apollo and everybody, like, it's that kind of party where turntablism is appreciated, but I mean, few and far between, right? So when it was time to kind of shift my focus, I wanted to put a set together that was like sort of a good mix of entertaining for the crowd, but also I wanted to, stay active. Because to me, it's just like learning from the battles, because you got to pack. When you're doing ITF, that's 90 seconds per round, and it's like you got to like pack everything you can. Every second counts. Like if you're standing there at the buzzer and you got 5 seconds left, that's kind of weird unless you've absolutely destroyed it. Otherwise, it's just awkward.
Right. Yeah.
Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's an eternity.
Yeah, standing still.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You do not want to do that. So you're timing everything, you're packing it in, and and taking that with what I learned by doing like clubs. Like we had this thing called Beat Lounge. It was just a spot Tuesday night. It would be everybody in town. It was definitely about the skills. Music format doesn't matter. It's just if you could rock a high energy freestyle set. If you're doing something, you can play. Not that there was like discrimination or anything against people who couldn't, but like you could feel it.
Yeah.
You definitely had to kind of bring it. So like again, like the place, like Apollo be there, Shortcut be there, Vinrock, Swift Rock. That was a place that was kind of sort of our sparring ground. We weren't competitive, but it was like, oh shit, like damn, oh he flipped that. Okay, a lot of the Raucous records were coming out, and it was like, oh man, who's gonna flip Definition today? So I took all of that, like that style, where it was just you're just active, you're doing something, you're commanding the audience, you're requiring attention. And started applying it to like different styles of music with the idea that I would make a set that was, about an hour or so. And just to stay, engaged. And I'm not, I'm not just playing a song. I'm like, I'll play a good song, but then I'm like fucking with it or layering something or doing like a remix or a mashup or something. So that was kind of like the next like phase of my life, I guess.
Shout out those guys though. I mean, I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of those people you're speaking of, Vinrock, Shortcut, Q, and these guys, and it feels like that's a really amazing community to be part of, because they're very very kind people and very open people, welcoming, and they share a lot, like it's almost it's surprising, because I think. At least for me, I was expecting people to have a lot more attitude, and they were just so nice. And I mean, people like yourself too. It's just you can see that must have been a really amazing environment to be part of at that time.
Yeah, and to your question in the beginning about like why do you think there's so many DJs that come out of the Bay Area, specifically like Daly City? It's because of those guys, because they made themselves accessible. They were right there. It's, again, we completely took it for granted. Like we would just, D Styles will be there on Tuesday. It's cool. I'll just see him there, and then he'll announce or something. But it's like, dude, then you'd get like people who would visit. Like Shortcut would always bring some, like Yoshi or something to come, and we're like, damn, man. And they're like, oh my god, they're video recording everything. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess this is like every week for us, but I guess it is kind of special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was just a really cool. Yeah, I would attribute like that kind of stuff. And like we were never the kind of guys who, if you had like some secret test pressing or whatever, like. We wrote the name on it. No one hid anything. It was like, that's the new tribe thing that no one had bit that there. You know what I'm saying? That's like it didn't matter because it was about the skill.
Yeah. Like your skills were what made you stand out. It wasn't what you had the tools, right?
Yeah. If anything, we would freak out when someone would bring like a new mixer or something. Like, oh, the 05? Damn, like yours has to switch.
Yeah, man. I remember that thing. Speaking of that, actually, the technology boom really transformed that whole region in the 90s, obviously with the web and everything. And growing up around that, did it have an influence on your interest in technology, or how did that affect that whole world? I mean, I know that there's definitely been some, a downside with the gentrification of things, but just having an influx of technology awareness, did that play a part in your career?
I guess at the time, it wasn't like, well, I'm in Silicon Valley, I better fucking be this technology guy. But I think you're right. Like, it just kind of influences you because you're just around it. If like they're making whatever the latest and greatest computers 20 miles away, and that's what everyone's talking about, I guess it kind of makes sense that that would be a huge factor in how you make your decisions and where you prioritize things, in the same way that, like, I would imagine for the people who grew up in LA, the film industry is like, so it's just, you're in it. You're there, all the billboards. The Bay Area has a very, like, even if you think about, outside of DJing, like, you got E40, hieroglyphics, quantum, scratchables, very, whatever the mainstream industry says, doesn't matter. We got our thing. You just follow us. It's okay. We're right here. You don't have to go through whatever channels and stuff like it. I think that more than anything influenced me in the way I carry myself, and the way I kind of conduct my business and whatnot. Just to kind of have that, I don't want to have to depend on too much to operate. I think E40 is a great example of that.
Totally self-sufficient.
Yeah, totally.
Owns his own shit, like everything.
Yeah, I mean, he'll incorporate other things, obviously, or collaborate or something, but it's not, he's done more on his own than most, I believe. Same with hieroglyphics.
Yep. And you've worked with a lot of different crews that you've touched on just then as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've worked with Dell from Hieroglyphics.
Yeah, my first nationwide tour was with Gift of Gab from Black Alicious, opening for him, and then I toured with Dell for maybe all told maybe like 2 years. Did Hyro Day last year, I think last year or 2 years ago, one of those, and yeah. So I mean, yeah, the Bay Area is very, very supportive of its its brethren.
That's really cool. And you still tour as a DJ as well for, who are you working with right now?
So now I go out with Farside. So I moved to LA. So,
yeah.
But I met them where was it? We were on a tour in Australia. It was called Good Vibrations. It was a big festival that kind of toured the different cities. And I was like, man, they're having fun. They're incorporating video and everything. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then they just started hitting me up. And then I moved, and it kind of worked out. And they needed a DJ. So
wow,
here I am.
You've done work for the Jabberwockies, is that right?
Mm-hmm. I directed a music video with them called Devastating Stereo. And I knew them because the Bangers are their musicians, and Nick No is their main. I mean, I don't know what he does now, but he is their guy. And I just started talking to him. I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing for that? Because they had just moved to Vegas to do their show, and they were already huge. They're, everyone knows Jabberwockies.
Yeah.
It's just like I've known Nick for years. Like, he's from the Bay. Like, again, we're coming from that same, areas. We just come from the same place, basically.
That's crazy. I mean, it's insane how much influence the Bay and San Francisco area has had musically, media-wise. It's just insane. And, you touched on it a little earlier. You said, like, Hollywood and L.A., the film industry was there. Coincidentally, I found out recently that a lot of the films used to be produced in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, and then that moved to Los Angeles because it was cheaper or something a long time ago.
Cheaper, better weather.
Yeah. Sure.
That had to have a lot to do because the Bay Area is pretty freaking foggy.
Yeah. Shout out Carl the Fog, right?
Dude, every time I visit home, I'm like, how did I do this?
Hey man,
Jeez.
I'm in Vancouver right now. I know all about
Oh,
fog
you
and
get it. You get it.
yeah, bad weather. So I guess just going now, we're kind of. I really wanted to get into the music video and the way you've incorporated these things together. What was kind of the spark that triggered your creativity and with blending music and visuals together?
I think early on it was, I'd always been more interested in filmmaking than I was with music, to be totally honest. Like that was kind of the plan, was like, I'll DJ for a little while and then I'll go to film school and then I'll make movies and then that'll be it. And the DJing will be a fun, oh, that was fun, Little did I know it would, as it was just such a weird time because I started going to college and it was cool. And then started getting gigs. So the college took a back seat, started traveling. I was like, I can't do this. That's crazy. I'm not even here. I'm not physically here. This is before you could really do like online classes or whatever. Not that I would have done it anyways. So that became the focus. And until maybe, I was still into movies and everything. Like that doesn't stop. But then when I started doing my this guy's show with the suit and everything and like just kind of making it that, I had to figure out a way to kind of fill the stage because you can do all this crazy stuff and scratch your ass off, but there's still, the stage is huge. Like, especially if you're at a festival or something, you have to fill it. I'm just one guy with turntable. I don't run around and, so I figure, all right, if I put a visual up, that would help. You can make it as big as you want. So I would have like, a DVD that was like an hour and it had like, sometimes it would have like a visual where it's like, yeah, whatever, or it would have like a fight scene and maybe do like a weird, mirror effect or something just to make it look interesting or mess with colors a little bit. But I would have these sections where it was messages. It was like words and like, things to the crowd, like little fun facts or something. A lot of the first shows I was doing were like art gallery things. So a lot like that helped. I think that helped my confidence a lot because they're there to see some weird shit anyways. You know what I mean? So having the visuals go on, and so I would kind of tailor my set, because if I'm just playing a video, it's going to be off sync in less than 2 seconds. Like it has to kind of be sort of in the middle. It can't be too crazy or too chill because it won't match what I'm doing, which is a challenge. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I guess this works. All right, yeah. That worked for a little while, and then the DVJ came out, and I was like, okay, this is interesting now because it's a CDJ for DVDs. Cool, I get it. I know exactly. So I just basically transferred a lot of what I already had, plus the stuff that like in my head I was like, if it ever comes a time where we can do this, I would use this, and this movie, that movie, whatever. And luckily, there were a lot of sections in those movies and TV shows that really worked to like scratch. Yeah, I would burn one show disc because I had one. So it's one video output, one show disc, 3 cue points for the entire set.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I don't want to change disc because when you ejected the disc, it says Pioneer DJ with the screensaver, and it looks like like a Windows computer is just.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what
it has that.
Yeah, outputting to the major screen, right?
Yeah, it said like DVD. It was the DVD that kind of bounces around the screen. I'm like, I can't have this. This is a show.
Yeah.
So that was my limitation, was I had to, every visual aspect lived on one disc, and the rest of it was, the rest of the show was on turntables. So I, for those of you who mess with video, like I had to build a lot of cheats in, like I had to build in my own fades and everything because there's no way to fade it out. It was just one video output, whatever. But with that, I was able to, completely change my set. Like now the visuals were locked. Now everything was, I could make it so that I'm scratching the video part, and that's a little scene, and then my logo goes up, and then I'm doing a juggle on the turntables, and just kind of I was able to like direct people's attention, exactly how I needed to. That changed everything for me, really, adding the visuals and being able to like just manipulate it in that way.
Wow. And then I guess you got into Serato Video, or was there something before that?
There was nothing before that. As soon as Serato came out, I was like, "Fuck this!" Yeah.
And were you early on in that, or like how did you? I mean, I know that we've had Serato Video for years now.
I'd like to think I was pretty early, if not maybe one of the first, because Rain was very supportive at the time, and I was on tour with Blue Man Group.
Right.
That one, talk about life-altering experiences.
Tell me about that.
Oh, God. So that one, prior to that, I was a lot of show. I was doing a lot of, touring and stuff and having the time of my life. And then Blue Man Group calls, and I'm like, oh, what? Like, what is this like? Am I going to Vegas now? Like, no, it was they had a tour, like a rock tour, like in arenas and stuff. And so I was like, okay, of course I'm taking it. And so, prior to that was, me and a few other guys in a minivan driving across the country, that's what that is. This tour was 7 buses of people, 8 trucks of gear, and it was different. It was different just going from touring one way to this crazy shit. I did a 15-minute set before Blue Man Group every night. That was perfect for me because, it's like, okay, back to, DMC style timing. That's how I was looking at it because I was on the stage. I didn't have a whole lot of time in front of people. So I was like, I got to start and just as soon as lights come on, boom, that's it. And I'm wasting not 1 second. And that was, it was incredible because I got to play in front of people who I would not normally have played with. It was every city in America, basically. Every city in America that did not have a Blue Man Group installation. So no Vegas, no Chicago, no Boston, no New York. But we would do like the surrounding areas, like in Illinois, it was like Peoria or something. But, we would do, it was great to do it was called the HP Pavilion at the time, the San Jose Arena, so, closest as you can get to my hometown. We also did Oracle, did Sacramento. It was just like ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Like I look back at it, I'm like, how did this happen? And you just feel, you feel like a cog in a wheel because, before that it was just like, oh, I'll just roll to the club and just, here, I'm here, doing my thing, plug in. This was like, okay, this is the person who's going to do your monitors, and you got your in-ears, and they mic the crowd, and then you got the front of house person, and then the lighting person. I have to coordinate with them because they have to kind of know my show so that they can do the thing. Actually, like kind of throughout my career, I've been very fortunate, now that I think about it, with the people that I've been around, from early days at Beat Lounge to Blue Man Group and Tony Hawk and everybody. Like that is, and like Fortnite. And yeah, I've just been around really nice people, really, really caring, giving, like they're very supportive. Like I'm sure you could tell from day one, I was super green, just like, whoa, wow, there's gonna be 15,000 people there tonight. Okay, every night, all right. Like, I had no idea. I asked the tour manager called me before the tour left. Just kind of like a little, just hey, call, get to know you, and I was like, hey, so which nights do we get a hotel? And he's like, every night. What are you talking about?
Awesome.
I wasn't used to that.
Wow.
So I got a hotel every night. I didn't have to share. It's just a crazy experience. 2007. Yeah.
Yeah, Serato Video must have been very new then.
Yeah, it was super new. Like I had just gotten the 57. Yeah, but I mean, imagine going from the DVJ, which, I mean, God bless the DVJ, because that put me in a whole different mindset. But I mean, that's one output with one. You know what I mean? Imagine like now with Serato Video, it's truly turntablism with video. Like you can do fades and scratch and juggle and whatever. Like I never realized juggling looks so freaking cool with video.
Yeah.
Like that to me, scratching's great, but like a good juggle, come on.
That's what it's made for, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite element of it.
Cool. So just going back to the film stuff, I didn't realize that you went to film school, but what were the inspiring films that kind of got you into that whole world? What was the spark there?
The guiding force for me incorporating the visuals in the first place was going to watch Star Wars opening night at the Coronet. The Coronet is was like the theater in San Francisco where like all of the, all the super nerds would go to watch Star Wars and Matrix and Lord of the Rings or whatever. So of course we camped out for like 3 days to get our tickets, but like the energy from that crowd on opening night is like nothing I have ever experienced to this day. It's something about, it's not, like a music, like when a crowd like explodes at like a huge music event. That's amazing. I had never seen or heard anything like that in a movie theater. And that's kind of what I was like, oh, so what is shit? Damn, like this is a different thing. It's sort of a, like I didn't know that a pre-made thing can get a reaction like that. You know what I mean? Usually it's like, it's live, like, oh, here's Wu-Tang Clan. Oh shit, like that, this is like, hey, we're gonna press play on this thing. It's gonna spin this reel and shoot light through celluloid. Go nuts. You know what I mean? That flipped my whole reality, really.
What Star Wars movie was this?
This was the re-releases when they did the extra, digital things to the originals.
So
but I mean, Phantom Menace was pretty hype. So we didn't know.
So what's like that's like early 2000s, was it, or?
I don't know where. I feel like it was it in the 90s? It had to be late 90s,
yeah.
Early 2000s. Yeah. That was to me like a personal shift in how I saw entertainment. And that's definitely what triggered the whole DJing with the visuals. So I wanted that feeling. I wanted to give people that like, oh shit, you didn't have to know who I am. It's just, here's the show, and it's going to speak for itself, hopefully.
So what is the best Star Wars movie? This is a very polarizing topic.
Man. Everyone's going to say Empire. I actually like Jedi. I actually Return of the Jedi. To me, that, I don't know why, that to me is like Star Wars. Like I feel that's my one, then Empire, then A New Hope. And the prequels sort of all meld together for me. the stand. When I think of the prequels, I think of the moments. The Duel of the Fates and the Yoda fight scene, and that's it. That's all I need. And then the new ones. I really like Rogue One. I know that seems to be the underdog on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, I like that.
But Rogue One was good for me.
And so moving on from movies, what were some of the music videos? I mean, you grew up like myself, I assume, in the MTV era. So
Yep.
music directors, was there any ones that specifically kind of I don't know, just like blew your mind a little bit?
Yeah, Michel Gondry, all day. That I still pop in that DVD. They had the director's label where it was like Michel Gondry, Spike Jonze, and Chris Cunningham. My God, just the Chemical Brothers "Let Forever Be" video alone, untouchable. First of all, how do you do that? Second of all, how do you execute that so perfectly? That's insane. That video, it is simultaneously inspiring and demoralizing to watch. Because I watch and I'm like, I'll never reach this. I'll never be this good. But God damn, this is beautiful.
Yeah. Michel Gondry seems to have a pretty good track record too. Think about some of the other videos he's directed.
Oh yeah, all the Bjork videos and dude, I gotta watch that DVD again.
Yeah,
that is crazy. I mean, his White Stripes video, dude. Yeah. Please, with the Legos, come on.
Yeah, yeah. He's done a lot of really like totally revolutionary music videos. What about Spike Jonze? Did he have an influence on you as well? Also,
definitely. I mean, obviously with the Beastie Boys stuff, and then Drop is still a video that I will look to for inspiration. Aside from the fact that I perform with them now, it's just like that's another one that's like, well, how did this work? Dude, they had to get a linguist to like basically backwards translate words, and then they had to, dude. And then all that time, like I made a track with Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and then did a music video for it, and it was totally inspired by Drop. I was like, I gotta make my version of that. It didn't have the lip matching or whatever, but like I was messing around with time. I don't know. I get giddy when I think about those videos.
For sure, man. And the cool thing is, I remember finding out a lot later on that the piece of glass that they smashed at the end of that drop is a Mark Gonzalez piece. Mark Gonzalez, the skateboarder.
What?
Yeah, and so I was like, whoa, this is so dope in so many levels,
The layer, and then the Beastie Boys show up. Like, it's just like, wait, what?
And it's the Beastie Boys sample. What? Yeah, it's
so much in it. It's so meta before meta.
Yeah, no.
Damn.
It's real.
Then his Sabotage video. For the Jabberwockies video, I was watching Sabotage a lot at the time because it was very much an introduction. Even though they were introducing like fake characters or whatever. No, I was like, we need to introduce everybody like an all-star game, like roll them out, at 6'6", like just, and they kind of do their thing. Like that was, not obviously not the blueprint for it, but like that was a huge inspiration for just how we timed and laid out the Jabberwockies video.
Speaking of which, your unique kind of approach to blending music and video together has resulted in some really great collaborations, and you've just kind of touched on them. What are some of your favorite ones that you can think of?
Favorite collaborations, I would say, man, obviously the Jabberwockies video, because that was just like, even when I first started talking to Nick about it, the more we went over just what it would be, everything's kind of made sense. It's like, yeah, it needs to be this, it needs to be this, and we have perfect timing because we have a song that we just made. Oh, cool. Sometimes it just clicks. Known Nick for years. And then the Del collaboration too, because we had toured for a couple of years, and obviously you want to track with Del,
He's the funky Homo sapien.
Yeah. please. And he's a guy who, I mean, he always has like some new shit. Like what I think at the time he had, it was the MPC 500. You know, the portable one, the battery powered one. It was like, oh wow, you could take that. You could play that in the car. Like, don't have to plug it in. That's crazy. And you could have, you know, he always had something. He's definitely he's a studio guy. He's a music nerd. And I'm like, hey, we should just do a track. And he's like, yeah, whatever. You know, like you know how that goes. Yeah, it just, yeah, you say it, but it's like, who knows if it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Came up with a track, sent it to him. Didn't hear back because we had stopped touring. I was already on tour with Blue Man Group at the time. So in between, you know, stops, I would work on the track, and I sent it to him. Didn't hear back for a little while, and then one day he was like, "Yo, I just listened to the track." This is like months later. I'd forgotten that, you know, he'd even had it, and he was like, "This is dope. I'm gonna record 2 verses right now." I'm like, "Okay, cool,
Get it done."
Yeah, and he knocked it out. And when he sent it over, I was just like, what? This is incredible. So yeah, that was a moment. And then doing the music video for that was another life-altering event because that's how I met my wife. She's the one in the music video.
I was wondering about that. Wow.
Her boyfriend at the time is the guy in the video, and my girlfriend at the time was the girl at the end in the video. So it didn't happen right away, but a couple of years after the dust had settled, we reconnected and got married.
Wow, that's amazing, man. What a cool story.
Yeah, that's a collaboration.
Yeah. Top collaboration. That one better stay at the top. Yeah.
A lot of my collaborations have been, you know, live shows. I recently did the Fortnite World Cup, which another insane experience. I was brought on to sort of do the like opening, like hype track production / ceremony thing. The setup was absolutely bonkers. I don't know if you've seen the stage for that. I think it was 8 screens across, but they were all angled funky and sort of curved because it was a 360 stage, kind of shaped like a boat in the middle of an arena. So the kids are playing. There was like 2 levels of competitors, and the crowd surrounds it, right? So I was responsible for all these video walls. And that was just to wrap my head around the setup took a little bit, but then it's like, okay, now you gotta fill it up. What are you gonna do? Like, damn. Okay, step by step here. So, you know, a lot of learning, a lot of just collaborating with a lot of, you know, I Am 8-Bit was a production company, and they did Drake's tour, and like they were just used to guiding all the moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts in those things. There's, you know, there's the live show, there's the live show production with the lights and the video and the players, the streaming consoles and everything. Then you have the live stream with however many millions of people, all kind of going at the same time. So you have to time everything right. And, you know, my feed, they built me a set that was, my floor was video. So if I had something going on, I'm stepping on it. And they kind of built it custom to my, you know, measurements, specs for the equipment and everything. It took a few, I think we worked on it for maybe 3 months.
Wow. They
have different production houses. Somebody's in charge of the animation for the gamers. Someone's in charge of the casters. That's a big part of it, is the announcers. You know what I mean? Hundreds of people on this thing. It was a city. It was insane. I mean, just kind of learning on the job, you know, with this huge production along with like my responsibility to fill these screens was insane. But then once you kind of like wrap your head around, okay, well, you know, you got to think of it as, what is a kid going to see if he's sitting, you know, in the arena? He wants to see something flying across, you know, it's very horizontal. So you want to see things flying across. You want to see your favorite gamers. You want to see them like doing weird shit, and there's a cool beat and everything. So that was fun.
I mean, that's like full on high art, right? That's, I mean, it's like, that's definitely
Totally.
Like installation style art pieces, really.
Yeah, it was a huge installation, and I wanted to make sure that there was space for me to kind of rock live, because I could have easily made something that just played. Oh yeah, here's the USB. Just go ahead. That's it. You know. But what's fun about that? You know what I mean?
It's really cool.
I wanted to, and that's always how I approach the shows. Even, you know, from if I'm out with a group, or if it's just me, I want to make sure that I'm doing something, because I feel, I've always felt like a sense of guilt if I'm not, you know, working harder than the audience is. You know, I'm just not. I mean, some people can pull that off. I can't.
You're a real showman.
Yeah, I guess I got to, you know, just be focusing. And same thing with this. Yeah, like once I hit the ground in New York, it was just like, I mean, I think I landed at like midnight. I went straight to the venue, and they were fully testing lights and everything. And all right, plug your thing in, and let's make sure this works, and this screen's going to go live. And this is, I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad I'm not doing that part, because that is ridiculous timing, ridiculous. I mean, the system that was, there's just so many different nodes and.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the people that put all that work into those shows, man. It's a whole nother art in itself, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's so satisfying.
So actually, speaking of that, there's a lot of streaming on, like, attention on streaming right now. And you know, obviously I feel like the gaming world was kind of like the first, they really got on that right away. And now DJing's kind of, with this situation that we find ourselves in with, you know, coronavirus, COVID and stuff, DJing is now really intersecting into that live streaming world a lot more, you know, on an individual level. Like Serato just recently started our own Twitch channel, and Twitch seems to be kind of like the major player in both the gaming and now the DJ sphere. And I know you've got your own YouTube channel, Relm Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll be utilizing you know, more live streaming platforms for your video and DJ performances?
I did a live stream with no video. It's just like I was just kind of fucking around. I had a bunch of mashups that I made with Toto's Africa. Like literally, that was the instrumental, okay. And I did an hour of that. It was kind of fun. I don't know. I don't know. There's just so many live streams right now. It's hard to, for me, it's like, I want to make sure that it's presented correctly, you know, and B, I don't want to show up on a live stream and then it's like, oh, they're doing verses, so everyone's watching that, you know, right. Like, oh, Babyface versus Teddy Riley's part 2's happening. Great.
Part 3 now.
Yeah, part 3 now, exactly. Yeah, so like there's no schedule for it, so it's kind of hard to you know, kind of get in where you fit in, especially because everyone and their mom is live streaming. I think I will, but again, I'm not the guy who has like 30 different sets ready to go. Like I don't play every day. I don't even play every week unless I'm like out on a tour. So, you know, I might do one if it were a situation where there were, all right, no live shows forever. Just fuck DJ, all this, you know, we don't care, coronavirus for life. Yeah, I might do a live stream once a month.
Yeah, your work is very complicated, though. I imagine that would it would take out so much of your time just to get like a regular stream going on, right? Like
it's very time consuming, and also like I want to be able to present like, okay, I'm doing this visual thing, like how do you present that on the computer? Is it a green screen? Is it picture in picture? I don't know. Is it a combination of both? Do I show my hands to? Probably. I have some ideas that are pretty close to feeling like, okay, this could be it. But maybe by then we'll be able to do shows, so it won't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
Deep down, if we really kind of took inventory up of it, I think a lot of DJs just want to do that. Like, they don't care about doing parties live. I think that kind of, quenches that thirst for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it these days is that I wasn't playing out much myself, so I'm taking an approach to it like I did a radio show, and I actually had a radio show, and I can't go to the radio station now, so I'm just like using that channel for that, and that seems a little bit. Again, I'm not doing too much visually, so there's not really that focus, that responsibility, or that energy that needs to be put into the visual side of things. It's more just kind of playing and presenting music to people on this platform in a real time. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that certain other artists that I know have just done things that are kind of insane with the visual element of it, and the fact that you're in your home and you're in this controlled environment that you can just kind of turn on does give you a lot of extra freedom to kind of do a bit more than just a DJ set now, and present kind of a regular show, if you will.
Yeah, it's like, you're right. It's like the new radio.
Yeah, or
this is what DJs should have been doing regardless. Aside from stay-at-home orders, like, this should have been a part of the culture a long time ago, because the gamers got on it with Twitch. I know there's the copyright issues and everything, but if we would have started on this, and myself included, if we would have gotten on this when Twitch was kind of started to bubble, I think the copyright thing would have been figured out by now. I truly believe that, because they've kind of done it with YouTube.
Yeah, because I mean, your Relm vision, you use a lot of copyright. I actually had a question about that. Do you
allegedly?
Right, allegedly, of course. But do you work with the film producers on these things, or what's your relationship with that?
Yeah, most of them I do. Like, I have to at this point, because I was getting a whole lot of copyright strikes. I mean, there's been different sort of eras in YouTube.
Yeah, totally.
You can kind of mark it by the design changes, but for the most part, there was a time when the copyright thing was just out of control. Like, it was just being abused. I mean, it still is kind of being abused today. Not as crazy. Before, it was just the Wild West. Like, you have these companies that basically what they would have is just a big room. And I've been to some of them, and it just gave me chills, because I was like, this really exists? There was this room of just like a bunch of like interns, and they were just like scrubbing the internet for things that sort of it approached gray area copyright wise, or straight up copyright violations of the company that hired them's intellectual property. So all the film companies had them, the music companies had them. Like, it was just done by hand. If you're some kid working the graveyard shift, and you see even something that was titled close to not Spider-Man or whatever, you're just going to take it.
Yeah.
And you can do that because they were given the power to just basically take your money. It's a jack.
Yeah.
It's just, that's mine now. And then they would receive all of the revenue from your video.
Wow.
Now, a lot of these, kids were just putting episodes of whatever they want, Game of Thrones, on YouTube. Of course you have to take that down. Yeah. Of course. But a lot of it was just abuse, and it goes on today. It's just not. YouTube is getting better at they kind of figured out how to sort of mitigate / kind of get in the middle of all this, and kind of even the playing field. But for someone like me, if Universal wants to claim my Chucky remix, of course, That's you guys own Chucky.
Yeah.
But I did that with them, so it's a little different. You know what I mean? So yeah, flash forward to the past like 5 years or so, I've had to kind of establish relationships with the studios so that we can work together, which makes for a better video anyways, because I can get assets from them that I wouldn't normally have access to, and B, just protect my channel from getting copyright strike after copyright strike.
Yeah, I mean, my two of my favorite ones were the Get Out and the Parasite videos that you remixed. The movie remix were so good. Did you work with the directors or the producers of those movies for those particular ones?
Not on those,
no,
not on those.
Do you know if they've seen them?
I think Jordan Peele might have seen Get Out. I feel like there was a tweet that I forgot if he saw it, but I don't think Bong Joon-ho saw Parasite, which I'm kind of bummed about. So I'm like, I think he might like that one.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's like really just so interesting, I mean, they're way better than anything that those, companies produce on their own for like a teaser or anything. It makes you, it really, it makes the whole experience. Like I actually saw that and I was like, I need to watch this movie now. Like I saw your remix. I was like, it's time now. We gotta get. I mean, this is around the time it won the Oscar.
Yeah. It just cleaned up at the Oscars, and I was like, dude, I gotta get on this.
Yeah, man, it was incredible.
But I mean, the cool thing is, the first one I did was like an official one. Basically, I mean, I took Iron Man 2. I just ripped it because Apple used to host Apple trailers. You could just download the QuickTime file. And I would just take that and I was like, just make a beat out of this. And then Jon Favreau saw it and was like, let's turn this into a commercial. I'm like, hell yeah,
that's awesome.
Jon Favreau is doing it. So the good thing is now with like social media, a lot of because it's the directors who get it, it's the creatives who get it, and the marketing people, like someone like Edgar Wright saw my Scott Pilgrim remix and immediately sort of was like, yo, what's up, let's do something, which is cool because in a way a lot of his films influence that style. He has he does the on beat
edits, quick
montages. When I would see those, I'm like, I see what he's doing there. All right, cool. Yeah.
And Jon Favreau, he's a DJ, or he has like a selection. I think this guy I know in LA was working on like these compilation albums with him, Jon Favreau.
Yeah. He's a very, I mean, like, dude, he's a chef, he's a DJ, director. I mean, he does it all.
That's so cool. But yeah, how do you choose these? How do you choose the movies that you want to work on?
When it's just up to me and it's not like a job, work for hire or anything.
Yeah.
It's really just kind of what I like. I mean, like with Parasite, like I love that movie, and yeah, the timing of it, I wanted to get it out before the Oscars while everyone was talking about it and stuff, because you're thinking about the views too.
Of course. And
also, it kind of has to have a thing that I can sample.
Yeah.
Because like after 20 years of DJing and sampling and producing, like you kind of get used to just hearing those things. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean.
Yeah, they jump out at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear open drums, you hear a quick acapella, you hear a little phrase. You just know it, and especially when like you could sit through a movie closing your eyes and you could pick out certain phrases that they say that will land on a beat. Like you just they just say it. And obviously with the Parasite remix, they had the song that they were singing. So as soon as you see that, it's like, all right, that's the chorus. It can be nothing else but that. And then you got the rock and stuff, and not to spoil anything, but there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of remixable little samples in that movie. And then I think same with Get Out. It was the stirring of the the tea, and then I think it's always like at least one thing, because I find that if I don't have at least a a kind of a repeatable, sample. It just feels forced. It just feels like, oh, now you're just throwing clips on beat.
Totally. It's so funny though when I think about it, how much like especially rap music like borrows from film. I mean, I'm just thinking of the most obvious example is the RZA and all the things he's done with the constant borrowing of the kung fu flicks and stuff like this, and the narrative of
Yep.
Scarface. And I mean, it's just New York hip hop is just littered with Scarface samples throughout it. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like
That is the most hip hop movie.
right? It's crazy. I mean, I think you could probably just play songs through that sample the movie and nearly get the complete story. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Have you ever done that? Have you ever remixed Scarface or
No, because it's
It's done, yeah. Totally.
every sample I use would be like, okay, RZA took that, and so I mean, everyone's taken something from there. I don't think I could ever use Scarface.
It's like the honey drippers of drum breaks.
Yeah,
It's been done to death. The funky drummer, he can't do it anymore.
yeah, you can't. Like, you would have to warp it so crazy and do some crazy shit. Like, it would be like trying to pick the bone off a turkey that everyone's eaten already. Like, well, there's nothing left. Like, I'm just gonna go eat pho or something.
Crazy. Well, yeah, I got one more question. It's a pretty important one. It's kind of like the Serato thing. But what does the power of music mean to you?
Oh, wow. Damn. I wasn't ready for that one. The power of music. I'm not one of those people who thinks like, music can cure cancer or whatever. Like, I'm realistic. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it will. But I do believe that if you embrace it and adopt it and learn to speak that language, you're almost unstoppable as a person.
It'll make you better.
One could argue, depending on what kind of music you gravitate towards, but yeah, it could make you better. It could, yeah. I'll say that.
It's funny you say that. It's like it's totally a language. Hey, like it kind of everyone loves music. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
where they're from or what they say. Everyone like, and that's the crazy thing. Even I imagine with your travels, you've probably been to a lot of different places, and it's like that's the common language, right?
Yeah, I mean, before I had traveled internationally, there was a lot of just very English specific bits in my set, whether it was like a movie sample or just words on the screen or something. And, my first time performing in Japan with all of this, I realized way too late that like, oh, they won't get this. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I replace this with something else? But I did it anyways, and it worked, because even if they don't understand the setup, they'll get the punchline of what I'm doing with the thing, with the phrase, even if it's not in their language, because they see the person, saying the thing and being scratched and whatever. So it is a language, and I definitely add the video element to that, which helps me, but it's still music.
Yeah, that's crazy just to think about that in another way. Is that, yeah, you've got the power of music behind you, but then you're adding that other layer, which is this video, which just gives it a whole nother context or perspective, right?
Yeah, it completely amps up, fortifies, whatever you want to call it, like just what I'm doing. And you could even, even if you didn't use, something like Serato video, just projecting the an angle on your hands, especially for a scratch DJ playing at a big festival, like, dude, you have to do that. You have to. For the people in the back, you have to do that. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to, they can't see this. This is close-up magic. You have to show it to people. That changes everything. Just having that visual changes everything.
That's a really good tip. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's lost a little bit. It's great to hear your story about, putting on a show. I think that as DJs, we, as we're not in bands, you know. In bands, obviously, you can see people actually playing what they're doing. They're hitting something or they're strumming
Yeah.
something. But you know, there's this usually this kind of line behind which the DJ stands, and yeah, that's a really good point. I think that'll really that's a really big takeaway for us all, you know, for the community.
Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind too that I've realized is like, as much as we know what all this is and how all this works, like I don't even really know exactly precisely how Serato DJ works, but I know enough.
Yeah.
We know how that works. We have our laptops, we see the waveforms, all this stuff. Dude, 90% plus of your audience doesn't really know what's going on there. So you need to give them something to understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my thing. Like, especially with video, they have no idea. They still think there's someone else matching what I'm doing. I'm like, do you realize how difficult that would be? That's insane. That'd be crazy to try to match. No. Yeah. It's way easier than that. But once I tell them, my shorthand is like, I'm just scratching QuickTime files. Oh, okay, cool. I get it. Easy.
Yeah, I guess that really summarizes it quite well.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. But yeah, I mean, most people have no idea what the computer's there for.
Yeah.
No doubt. On any given night. So, got to put on a show, man.
Well, yeah, we're very grateful that you use Serato for those shows, man, and thank you.
I'm grateful that I'm using Serato. Dude, there would be no way for me to do any of this. No way.
Well, and vice versa. We wouldn't really be able to do what we do if it wasn't for people like yourself using the software and the capacity and doing the kind of insanely creative things that you do. So, yeah, it's definitely a very reciprocal relationship.
It works.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time today and for being our guest on this show.
Dude, thank you for having me. It's been a while.
Yeah. Is there any parting words that you wanted to add to this episode?
If you're watching this episode, I hope the world has become a great place after 2020.
No doubt. That's a good timestamp.
Please tell me it's getting better.
Well, I hope you stay safe. Hope your family stays safe and your friends. And
likewise.
When I'm allowed back into the US, I'll come see you.
Is anybody at the studio right now?
No one. No.
That's right. Oh wow.
Yeah, everything's locked down. So, yeah.
Man.
But yeah,
that is crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy time. But yeah, we'll get through it, man.
Yeah, but dude, thank you for your support. I mean, like, you, Sonny, everybody is just. This is a time when we all kind of need each other, and you guys have been so, you're teaching people how to do live streams. You're teaching people how to use Serato Studio. Like, it's just like, this is what we need. Yeah, this is keeping me sane.
That's awesome.
So
man.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.